The riding of Nepean is historically conservative when it comes to Queen's Park, and PC incumbent Lisa MacLeod is hoping to keep it that way. But after 4 years of multiple scandals, the Liberals and NDP say the riding is ready for change. MacLeod did not respond to multiple requests for an interview, as the PCs encouraged many of their candidates to stay away from the media and localized debates. Nepean Liberal candidate Tyler Watt says that's not a trait riding residents are looking for in a representative, and is hoping his unique lens on issues will sway voters. Working as a nurse in both hospital and long-term care homes throughout the pandemic, Watt has serious concerns over the Ford government's handling of COVID-19. He feels they were too late to make decisions and should have tread with caution before lifting almost all restrictions.
My experience as a frontline nurse is unique. I have that lens of actually, being on the front lines during this pandemic, and there is a lot that I would have changed. I think that what was missing from the Ford government during this entire pandemic thus far is that proactiveness, those proactive measures that we could have taken for people in Ontario to prevent us to a point of getting to a crisis. So implementing 10 paid sick days. There are a lot of people that have to go to work because they can't miss one day. Things like making sure that everyone has access to PCR testing. We still don't have that.
For Nepean's NDP candidate Brian Double, he says death toll numbers and rates of infection are proof that Ontario wasn't properly equipped to handle a pandemic. He said investing is the pathway forward to a healthier Ontario.
It's important to realize that 12,000 people died during the pandemic in Ontario, 4,000 of them in long-term care. What the pandemic showed is that we had not been investing in our social safety net. And indeed, we were actually cutting from our social safety net. So what I'd like to see moving forward is investing in things like healthcare, in long-term care, even in education. So these are areas which are really needed when you have something like a pandemic.
For Double, education is a key concern on voters' minds this election cycle. With over 30 schools here in Barrhaven alone and overcrowding becoming a concern, he says funding is needed now to help with the demand. Almost every school in the riding has portable classrooms to keep up with the large number of students moving into the neighborhood. Some have needed to remove sections of their sports fields to create space. Double says it should have never got this bad in the first place.
I think it's really important to invest in education, and the NDP is planning to do that. Plan to hire 20,000 more teachers and educational assistants. I think that is a really important area. Another important area is investing in the schools, in repair of the schools. So there's a backlog of repairs, and I think it's important to invest in that. Finally, an area that's really important to me is investing in Indigenous curriculum.
The riding of Nepean has a Liberal representative at the federal level, and Watt is hoping that's a sign its demographics are changing. He's seen the community develop from the once rural community it was into the suburb it is today. This will be a crucial election for the party with a new leader at the helm of it all. The Liberals dropped to only 7 seats in 2018 and lost its official party status. But after taking time to rebuild with a new team of young candidates, Watt believes people will see his party in a new light.
Well, I wasn't there for that, and I'm proud to be a part of this new era of the Ontario Liberal Party. In 2018, they were very humbled by those election results and were forced to rebuild from the ground up. They were forced to listen to people like me, and that's why I've gotten involved with them. And the fact that we're running on such an incredible healthcare platform that has listened to key stakeholders, to patients, to people in the community, I'm so proud to be running on this platform. We're making those much needed investments and decisions in the community, in public health, at hospitals that we need to do as quickly as possible so we can start to address the many systemic issues that are going on in our healthcare system.
Both the Liberals and NDP are hoping for an increased voter turnout to ensure they do well in the polls. Advanced polling was open for 10 days instead of the usual 5 this election cycle, and voter turnout was technically up. Elections Ontario says over 1 million people cast their ballot during that period, representing 9.92% of eligible voters. While the number has increased since 2018, it's actually decreased if you take into account the double amount of time voters had. polls currently suggest a clear path to victory for McLeod, who is expected to win with a projected 43% of the vote, just a few points shy of what she got back in the 2018 provincial election. Now, the polls also currently suggest that the Liberals will come in second place here in Nepean with 29% of the vote, the NDP coming in third place at 18%. But of course, we'll have to wait until tomorrow night to see if these predictions will come true or not. Charlie CNH UIN News, Ottawa.